2020 is over and done with. F off 2020. And while 2021's first week could use some work, at least we can look back at some fond memories and the good stuff that happened last year. Like the awesome game music that popped up, or the best games. Amidst all that in-house confined awesomeness though, that's also the bad stuff. A lot of bad stuff, be it terrible and disappointing titles, and also bad industry practices. And because YouTube and the internet seem to thrive on negativity, and because misery loves company, and you all love a good trash fire story now and then, here are the 10 worst gaming things of 2020. Number 1. The Last of Us Part 2. We don't mean the game. Well, it's alright. Great story on the depressing side, it's meant to be like that. Kinda so-so gameplay, at least according to yours truly. What it didn't deserve was a pre-launch hate. Naughty Dog's latest was vilified and trashed by a number of people long before it came out on June 2020. This is due to the game's leaked script and dev kit version featuring spoilers and story bits. This led to some overzealous gaming fans to send death threats and demeaning messages to the Naughty Dog team because of its diverse cast and alleged agenda, some nonsense like that about LGBT and whatnot. Yeah, the game clearly divided folks who either liked or hated the change, the narrative switcheroo, and the golf action that was wrought onto the first game's main character. The fact that Naughty Dog had to resort to crunch to finish The Last of Us Part 2 did not help matters in the slightest. People were burnt out just working on the game. Oh, and there was an overtly restrictive embargo where we weren't even allowed to talk about the Abby bits and say it switcheroo. I have to guess, if it weren't for the leaks, the game would be getting a much different reception than the one it got. At the very least, it got a rise out of many, many folks and fans, for better or worse. You know what they say, any publicity is good publicity, even if it's a kind caused by the worst of the gaming community. Number 2. Warcraft 3 Reforged. 2020 started off with this mess of a remaster. It's bad enough that Blizzard got some ill will from fans via the Diablo Immortal mobile game revealed at BlizzCon 2018 and the Hearthstone casters and player who was banned from a major tournament back in 2019 because he supported the Hong Kong protest. Warcraft 3 Reforged is just more shit Sunday scoops to go along with those aforementioned cherries. Not only was the game buggy and crashed a lot, and did not feature new cutscenes and presentation additions, but it also had a new clause on user-created custom games. See, if you made a custom game or map on Warcraft 3 Reforged, it belonged to Activision Blizzard. This was done to make sure they don't have a Dota/Dota 2 situation that's out of their hands. But really, that's just stifling more creativity from the fanbase. Number 3. Fortnite. Fortnite was banned from the App Store in August because Fortnite devs and publisher, Epic Games, stuck in a direct payments feature to the Fortnite store on the iOS version, which intentionally allows users to evade Apple's in-game purchase system. This violated Apple's ad guidelines, thus the ban happened. Epic Games filed a civil antitrust lawsuit after that transpired. And then they put out this 1984 ad in an attempt to convince teen Fortnite players that Apple is bad. Going for the whole stick it to the man sort of thing, when it's actually something that's created by the man. In retrospect, this is cringeworthy and just shows that Epic Games has too much money to worry about things like honoring contracts you sign with a platform holder. No! The company is still retaliating against Apple by sending free Fortnite press gifts to gaming personalities, as well as offering Android devices and Windows PCs as prizes to Fortnite players for competitions. Both Epic Games and Apple are going to have their first courtroom trial in July 2021. Should be fun! Number 4. Google Stadia Man. What if you posted a take that is so dumb that it helps make your console trend for the first time since its less than stellar launch? That's what Alex Hutchinson did with his take on streamers having to pay developers for a license to stream their respective games. To quote, "Streamers worried about getting their content pulled because they use music they didn't pay for should be more worried by the fact that they're streaming games they didn't pay for as well. It's all gone as soon as publishers decide to enforce it. The real truth is the streamers should be paying the developers and publishers of the games they stream. They should be buying a license like any real business and paying for the content they use. What the f*** is wrong with you, man? Where is the logic in all this shit?" The responses were very snarky and horrible, and rightfully so, that even Google Stadia distanced themselves from him. Though to be fair, Google Stadia actually received an uptick in popularity for just that one small moment when Alex Hutchinson was Twitter's main character. Number 5. Call of Duty Warzone. Its install size. Game installs are getting bigger by the year, with Activision's yearly shooter franchise taking the huge pound cake. Call of Duty Modern Warfare is huge. So is Call of Duty Warzone and Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Combined, there are over 292 gigabytes. Modern Warfare and Warzone are 200 gigs plus, in case you don't want to pay AAA price for another goddamn COD game. True, you can now tweak your install so that you don't need exactly 200 gig just to play multiplayer. But earlier this year, it's rather annoying that games aren't getting any smaller and developers are still trying to figure out how to optimize HDD install sizes for their big budget games. And it ain't getting smaller anytime soon. I mean, we used to think 40 gig for a game was insane. My, how times have changed. Number 6. Nintendo vs fans. The Switch continues to dominate, especially in a year where people were stuck at home. Thankfully, Nintendo Switch had Animal Crossing New Horizons. And seriously, that's all I need for 2020. However, Nintendo's continued stance towards its ardent fans is anything but chill. Nintendo remains extremely strict when it comes to fan games inspired by its own, shutting down certain different projects like the Ocarina of Time based Missing Link spin-off to Peach's Untold Tales, which you should not Google in public. Nintendo even shut down an entire Super Smash Bros. Tournament over its use of a mod called Slippy to make Smash Bros. Melee viable to play competitively online, because COVID-19 and stuff. Also, Nintendo cancelled a Splatoon 2 tournament livestream after teams entered with names like #FreeMelee. And there was that whole debacle about the Nintendo legal team putting a cease and desist for custom Joy-Con controllers in honor of the late YouTuber Etika, with the proceeds going to the JED Foundation for Emotional Health and Suicide Prevention. Longtime Nintendo watchers have gotten used to this sort of thing, but the company seemed to really outdo itself in 2020. Number 7. Marvel's Avengers. This fucking game. Look, its comic book story was fine. The core idea for a 3D brawler was solid. However, the execution just left a lot to be desired. In addition to the bugs and the slowdown and the choppy frame rate and the weird stuff that goes on, the game featured a lot of paywalls and microtransactions for a lot of its cosmetics and fancier costumes. You can grind for it, sure, but it'll take players a very, very long time playing through the same repetitive missions over and over and over compared to just paying for it. The fact that the PS4 version of the game is the only one getting Spider-Man as a DLC character sends a message to people that the PS4 version is superior to the Xbox and PC version, making those two player bases very left out. Honestly, with the middling state of the game's player base right now, does anybody really care? Number 8. Amazon's Crucible. Talk about the worst debut ever for a game. Crucible came out on May 2020, after years of development to little fanfare at a time when there are already a ton of hero-based shooters out and claiming their dominance in 2020. Be it the golden child Overwatch to the steady newcomer Valorant. Then, the game was discontinued after months of being active, with only a few people playing it. Honestly, the game was so mediocre and unimaginative that it does not stand out at all. Despite some outlets giving it promising reviews, players weren't buying it because at the end of the day, it's all about the player base. Why play a shooter from a newbie gaming company like Amazon when there's already free and better options from Riot Games and the PUBG Corporation and from Blizzard? Plus, a lot of people were confused by Crucible. Is it a MOBA? Is it a Battle Royale? Is it a deathmatch shooter? It was all of those things, and its messaging leading up to the launch and launch week was really mixed. The game was scaled back and eventually reverted to closed beta. It didn't work out. Thus, it was shut down in November of this year. The business of games as a service is ruthless indeed, especially for titles making their mark. Number 9. CD Projekt's very, very bad week. Cyberpunk 2077 is a pretty awesome if buggy game on PC and on Xbox Series and PS5. On the Xbox One and PS4 though, it's a goddamn mess. I mean, it was so bad, CD Projekt hid them from press outlets prior to release. It was such a travesty that CD Projekt made an announcement about refunds on Xbox and PlayStation digital platforms, without warning the two of them, mind you. Then PlayStation removed the digital version of Cyberpunk 2077 from the stores until further notice. Of course, before all this, there was also that bit about CD Projekt breaking their promise on not making its employees crunch to ship the game. And then had to calm down shareholders in emergency calls, and then some of the shareholders are filing for a class action lawsuit. And then, their digital distribution service, GOG.com, said they weren't going to distribute Taiwanese horror game Devotion, which wasn't in stores last year due to an Easter egg joke about China's current president. I'll let you be the judge of what actually transpired. Long story short, CD Projekt had a hell of a PR nightmare to deal with then and even up to now. At number 10, Ubisoft. Oh Ubisoft, let us count the ways you really done effed up 2020. A number of leaders and top dogs at Ubisoft, all the way from Montreal to the Singapore offices, were accused of abusive behavior, which included sexual misconduct, cultivation of a toxic work environment, and racism. Ubisoft upper management pressured developers to prioritize male leads and minimize female leads for the majority of their big titles. Its mobile game Tom Clancy Elite Squad portrayed protesters raising their fists and brainwashed villains, which looked uncannily similar to the ones used during the Black Lives Matter protest. Hyperscape, which is Ubisoft's entry in the saturated and played-out hero shooter genre. Cool concept, but really that's all you got. Ubisoft did apologize for most of these issues, but only because they got caught. God forbid the times you got away with uglier stuff, eh? Come and think of it. As fun as the games are, it's really hard not to think about what's going on up in management. The people who worked hard on these titles we enjoyed will always be watching their backs and be a bit more wary in the offices thanks to these allegations of misconduct and terrible, terrible things brought to light. Man, 2020. It's the worst, isn't it? Here's a video of cats sleeping to calm your nerves. And that's our list. Hope you learned something out of it. If you want to voice out what your biggest gaming disappointment is back in 2020, hit us up on the comments below. Like and subscribe to us, and hit that notification icon for more KKP goodness. We post new content every week. Bye for now, and stay safe.